Firstly, import pandas as PD, import numpy as NP, and import some sklearn feature. From sklearn.model selection, import train test split. Uh, from sklearn.matrix, import mean square error. From sklearn.sample, import random forest regressor. From sklearn.impute, import simple imputer. From sklearn.preprocessing, import level encoder. Then I have loaded the dataset in my notebook, such as train underscore df equal to pd dot read underscore csv under bracket part of the train data set. Similarly, test underscore df equal to pd dot read underscore csv under bracket path of the test data set, and ss ss using instead of simple submission CSV file ss underscore df equal to pd dot read CSV file under bracket part of the simple submission data set. Then I am checking data set save using trend underscore df dot save to get column and row of the data set. We have get 10,000 column and 17 row in the test data set. Similarly, using test underscore df.shape to get 1500 column and 17 row in the test dataset. Similarly, using ss underscore df.shape to get 1500 column and 2 row in the simple summation dataset or ss dataset. The next step we have working on view first 5 row in the dataset using train underscore df.head to get first 5 entry of the dataset or first 5 row of the dataset from row 0 to row 4 and column such as vendor ID, TPA pickup date time, TPA drop of date time, passenger count, trip distance, rate code ID, stored and FWD flag, PU location ID, DO location ID, payment type, extra, tip amount, tolls amount, improvement surge, total amount, conjunction surge, import fee, etc. Similarly, using test underscore df dot head to get first 5 entry of the test dataset or first 5 row of the test dataset. Similarly, using ss underscore df dot head to get first 5 entry of the simple summation dataset. The next step, working on view last 5 row of the dataset using train underscore df.tell to get last 5 entry or last 5 row of the train dataset from row 900 9995 to 9999. Similarly, using test underscore df.tell to get last 5 entry or last 5 row of the last 5 row in the test dataset given output. Similarly, in SS dot tell to get output last 5 entry of the simple summation data set. Then next step we have working on checking missing value in the data set using train underscore df dot is null dot sum to get missing value in the train data set and test underscore df dot is null dot sum to get missing value in the test data set. Then similarly using ss underscore df dot is null dot sum get missing value in the simple summation data set and all dataset type is 864. Next step, working on convert data columns and feature engineering and drop data columns and handle category feature using pre-processing function such as pre-processing underscore data df such as df equal to df dot copy and convert strict dates to date time subject. Using this code, we'll move on next step. Working on next step, feature engineering such as trip duration, hours, and day of the week. Using this code, working on drop original datetime column such as df equal to df dot drop column equal to tpip pickup time datetime comma tpip drop of datetime. Then working on encode store nfwd flag if store nfwd flag if columns df equal to MP under bracket and such as 0 and y such as 1. Then working on input payment type. If we payment type is in df dot column, then L equal to level encode and df equal to L if we transform df payment type as data type string, otherwise return df. Then applying pre-processing models such as train process equal to pre-process data type train and test process equal to pre-process data type test. Then working on next step, separate feature X and target Y such as X equal to train process dot drop column equal to total amount and Y equal to train process total amount. Then save test ID and separate feature for test set. Test ID equal to test process ID and X test equal to test process dot drop column equal to the ID and working on handling missing value using median imputation. Imputer equal to simple imputer strategy equal to median and X imputed equal to imputer dot fit transform X and test imputed equal to imputer dot transform X test. Then print X test imputed to get array of the key output. Then next step working on split feature and target and model training and validation data. Using model training and validation split such as x train, comma x validation, comma y train, comma y validation equal to train test split under bracket x imputed y, comma y, comma test size equal to 0.2 and random state equal to 42. Then initialize and train the random forest model. Model equal to random forest regressor under bracket n estimator equal to 1000 and random state equal to 42 and n job equal to -1 and model dot fit under bracket x train comma y train. They working on evaluate the performance such as validation prediction equal to model dot predict x validation and RMS equal to NP dot mean square error y validation prediction then print validation RMS for f then get output validation RMS is 47.8660. They working on predict test dataset and last step of this assignment is create submission file. Then working create a test dataset and prepare submission file. The test prediction equal to model dot or predict x test executed and submission dn equal to read of data frame under bracket id subject test id total and total amount such as test predicted and submission df dot to csv to submission csv is equal to false and using some import a behavior regressor model to get better idea better score in the assignment